Kalimera και γεια σας.
I'm in Monemvasia, at the foot of the bridge leading
To the Castro. Monemvasia and the Castro are linked together, but I think really it's a tale of two different places. First we'll take a look at the Castro, then we'll take a look at Monemvasia.
Monemvasia literally means single entrance, and this is not it. The waters are too shallow and the rocks too jagged. This is the entrance to Monemvasia, and it has served as host to commerce and enemy ships since the Middle Ages. Similarly, there is only one entrance that leads into this city built into a rock, and it's through this cave-like entrance. There you'll find a different kind of tourism, a friendly tourism, on a simple, single main road. It has classic architecture, it has fine dining, it has boutique hotels, and lots of little nook and crannies. You can make a left and go down to the shore, or you can make a right and head up to the top of the mountain. Down at the shore, there's renovated luxury housing. The elite live here, but back in the day, it was home of the peasants, who would have to work and labor to load and unload cargo ships. Wherever you go, there are ruins as reminder of the Ottoman occupation, and they usually lead out to plazas where cannons and fortresses once defended its shores.
This cannon turret is one of many that you would find inside the Castro at Monemvasia. It protected the port side of the village. We're going to find many others, especially when we go up top.
Making your way to the top of this castle city includes steep inclines and many, many steps that just seem endless at times. They curve and wind into the mountainside and bring you to different levels of the city. But mostly, they're fascinating. It just seems unbelievable at times that you could build these and have them be functional for centuries. The maze-like effect, though, can be confusing, and at times it's easy to get lost, as I did. But quite honestly, it was the best thing that could have happened. I found myself at the edge of the rock.
I'm at the very tip of the Castro's lowest level right now. Behind me, you'll see all there is seas. It's very windy here.
Also very beautiful. I have to tell you,
It feels like you're just stuck out in the middle of the Aegean Sea.
As I got myself back on track, I continued up to the top. On the way, the remnants of wars both won and lost became very apparent. But what was most interesting is that you could literally walk amongst the ruins. This wasn't like a museum or a zoo where you're looking at something through glass or behind bars and cages. You could actually touch these things, climb on them, walk through them. It was literally a living history.
The Castro in Monemvasia is a three-tiered castle city connected by voltas, which are pathways made of stone. We're on the third tier right now, and it houses the industrial military complex, the aristocrats, and of course, the church. It served as a strategic military outpost in the liberation of the Peloponnesus coast.
And what they were liberating was this, the town of Monemvasia. It's just across the bridge from the Castro, but it's really another world. It's a quaint little beach town nestled in mountains and has the feel of what was once small-time USA. I went to the center of town on a Saturday afternoon and took this 360. You'll notice there's not a lot of traffic and not a lot of commotion. It's one of the friendliest places I've ever been. If you ever stop and ask for directions, people ask you if you want to hop on the back of their motorcycle and they'll take you there. And then the next day, when they see you on the street, they'll say, Yasu, Tommy, how are you? You need a ride again? And yet again, I had another magnificent view from the veranda of my hotel, the Castro and a beach. Right below me was this street, which housed tons of tavernas, restaurants, beachside restaurants, cafeneos, cafes. There was always people milling around and always someone to see or something to do. Just down the coast, there were more beaches. Some had waves, some were calm. Some had rocks, some had sand. They were all beautiful. They were all accessible by foot, and everyone on them was very friendly. Just a bit further up the coast, I saw this peninsula, and I really wanted to get there for some reason. I thought I was closer to the Castro, but I was actually this far away. At its edge, it had rocks. They weren't jagged, they were flat, perfect for sitting on and dipping your feet into the water. They also created little whirlpools that water would just dip in and dip out, similar to a bathtub. I wasn't sure why I was enjoying this place so much, but then I started thinking about my grandfather, about how every year, once a year, in the middle of August, he would take his annual baño. He would go to the water, strip down to his underwear, and dip his head under the water 3 times. He first did this in his hometown about 20 kilometers from where we are now. That was over a half century ago. He and I, and only he and I, continued that practice for about the next 2 decades until he became too old to do it. The next thing I knew, I found myself down to my bathing suit and ready to dip myself into the water. This baptism of sorts was very refreshing and renewing. It'd be easy to think, boy, I wish my grandfather was with me to see this. But I didn't even think that for some reason. Probably because I knew he was with me, just like he's always been. Subsequently, many have asked me, what was your favorite time in Greece? What did you enjoy the best? I try to answer that really with avoidance and comedy, but the truth is, the best time I've had in a long, long time was spending the afternoon with my grandfather. After that afternoon, this whole adventure went to a whole new level. It became not about places to go, things to see, beautiful vistas. It became about people and family and relationships and unconditional love. I guess you could say it was about being in the moment. No matter who I was with or where I was, there was nowhere in the world that I would rather be. And it all starts with my cousin Maria. She's been so supportive of me for her whole life. She helped me plan this trip and encouraged me to go. Her and her husband Nick took the 2-hour drive from Sparti to Monemvasia, their favorite place in the world, just to have dinner with me, just to make sure I had company for the evening. And Mayor introduced me to these two. They're cousins I didn't even know I had, Christos and Sula. They own the hotel I was staying at, but it's more than just a hotel. In a room off their front lobby, they serve breakfast, but it's also sort of a town meeting room. Everybody walks through there at one point or another during the day. It was there that they introduced me to everyone. Like their daughter Katerina. She's the only overachiever I've ever met in Greece. In my short time there, I watched her organize Tupaniidia, run supplies and people back and forth from Monemvasia to Yerika to the Limani, and organize innumerable hikes, which she invited me on every time. I told her one time that if she was in the States, she could be really big. Without missing a beat, she said to me, "I'll never leave this place."
Then there's my cousin Diamandi, sweetheart of a guy and a great dancer. He likes to say the word sosto a lot, which is similar to cool. It's cool, man, cool. He's also a little forgetful, like the night he left me at a panayiri. Katerina bailed him out and brought me home, but I was there till like 6 or 7 in the morning. He was very regretful, but we had fun, playfully calling him a vlaka for the rest of the vacation. Then there's my Thea Fotini. She's Mayor's mother, and she's from Freeport. She's more of a 6 and 6er now. 6 months here, 6 months in Greece. When I first saw her, the first thing she asked me was, do I have a car so I could take her shopping? She's also the only person in Greece who keeps her front gate locked. I guess you could take her out of Freeport, but you can't take the Freeport out of her. Then there's a cousin of my cousin, both named Kathy Lazaraki. This Kathy recently made the bold, risky, and courageous decision to sell everything she owns, including her 4,000 square foot house in Greenwich, and move her 2 kids and her dog to Monemvasia to start a yoga studio.
Nomi, κάνετε yoga εδώ?
We do.
Παναγία μου. Σπασίβο.
Καλημέρα.
Καλημέρα, how are
Ανέβηκα
you?
παπούτσια στο στούντιο.
How are you?
Καλά, καλά.
Then there's this amazing guy. He's my cousin Lazaro. He is just such a great guy. I haven't seen him in over 50 years, and it's like we picked up just where we left off. We hung out a lot together, and he has amazing backstory. He literally grew up in a one-room house. It didn't even have an outhouse. They used to go into the woods to do their business and to the limani to wash up. He went on to complete his university studies in Italy, became an architect, a lover of opera, a lover of women, an esoteric, and a common man. He could order fine wine before dinner at sunset, never uses a menu, tells the waiter how he wants things cooked, sings from his heart, and laughs constantly. He's never without a story and never without a smile. Everything he seems to do comes from his soul, so therefore it always touches your soul. And the best part about it was I don't know if he was more sorry to see me go or if I was more sorry to leave. But I do know we've been in touch ever since. So that's it for Monemvasia. As the sun sets, I'll be heading 20 kilometers down the road to Yerika and the Limani, the birthplace of my grandfather.